Why do you think so much? Why do you feel this way all the time? Why are you so sensitive? Why don't you do this? This happens with me all the time. Sounds familiar? Have you very often felt wrong about how you feel? When you share, are you always given advice, instructions, and opinions when all you need to do is vent out? Our experts today introduce to you a safe space where there is no advice, no judgment, no correcting you. It's only listening, only understanding you. It is the Connecting NGO. Welcome Shweta Tiwari and Sandy Das Andrade, two of the pillars of this organization. Shweta has been in the organization for almost a decade and has since contributed in various capacities. She currently heads trainings at the Connecting Trust and is also a mentor and volunteer. Going beyond from her IT background, Shweta has thoroughly understood and now trains others to understand that when you hold the space for others, you're equally held in the same space. Sandy is the co-managing trustee at the Connecting Trust, a psychotherapist with over 20 years of experience in the field of mental health, mindfulness, and presence-oriented applications. She initiated the helpline at Connecting in 2008 and has co-designed its training program for volunteers. I'm your host, Shilpa Malimani, and it is my super pleasure on behalf of the team Mystic Lotus and Dragonflies and everybody in the audience to welcome Shweta and Sandy today on the awesome Healthier Bee Summit. Welcome, both of you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you, Shilpa.
Thank you, both of you, to join here together. And I can't wait to share with everybody your journey and what's in store for them. In fact, a lot of people are still joining in, and I want to tell you, everybody, that this is a very important conversation. And all chats are on the Telegram group. If you're not there, please join, and we will take your questions from there. So, Shweta, Sandy, earlier in the group, we have we had put up some posters. We wanted people to think about some questions, to get started, to lay a platform to this conversation. So what do you say we ask those questions here again? And everybody, let's hear what you think about it on the Telegram group. And Sandy and Shweta are going to share some really interesting things from there, which, trust me, we couldn't even have imagined. Okay, so get on the Telegram group, be ready to type, and we will ask you these questions. And I'm going to just share my screen for that. Just give me a moment, please. You can see my screen, right? And can hear me as well? Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, so the first question we would like to hear answers to everyone is, when you feel stressed, who do you turn to and for what? Do you like speak to somebody? Do you do something? Or like me, you prefer not to share a lot of things with anybody and you just kind of rationalize it and go with it. So let us know on the Telegram group and we will bring them up with Shweta and Sandy. And in the meanwhile, I want to tell you, Shweta and Sandy, that Only after interacting with you, I have realized the importance of sharing and how it actually makes a difference, to look out for somebody in times of stress. So we have started getting some responses. Rupali says that she meditates when she's stressed and she becomes calm. Thank you, Rupali, for that tip. I'm going to try that. And I can see some more people are typing, so we'll just wait for those responses. And I do also realize sometimes there is nobody to speak about some things. You're not really sure what to do at those times. So Margie has responded that I have a friend who makes me laugh, or she does affirmations which she has learned along the way. It's really interesting. She has two approaches. And let people type. I can see people are still typing. And let's move on to the next question. And we'll, probably summarize all of those answers together. So the next question we would like to ask you, everyone, is in the absence of support, what do you do to deal with your stress? So Rupali, let's say you're not able to meditate, or Margi, you don't have your friends, or you are not able to affirm. So at this time, when there is nothing you can do or nobody there is to reach to, what do you do? Let us know on the group. And in the meanwhile, yeah, Umesh says he turns to music. Dr. Sheila says that she calls her niece in the USA to find out the solution. And again, Rupali says that if she's not able to meditate or become calm, or there is nobody to talk to, she also listens to music. And Margie says that she takes a step back, moves away from the environment, and she does something. So basically, she does some activity and then she comes back to the problem. And Ashwini says that she cries and that she calls her friend. And I and and we are actually making people do a lot of work right at the beginning of this call. So we will let our audience warm up a bit and we'll wait for those responses. And yes, Dr. Sheila also hears music and exercises, and there is a lot of music on this Telegram group in our audience, Sweta and Sandy. Even Kavita listens to some music or she eats chocolate. So that was it, the second question. And now coming to the third and final question, which this will actually give us an idea of where we are going and why this is so important. So everybody tell us, why do you want to be heard? We just give out your very beautiful, thoughtful answers. We really want to know why is it that you need to be heard. So Sandy and Shweta, I want to take this opportunity. I can see some responses coming in. I want to think about this and tell you that I need to be heard so that I I know that I'm not alone in whatever I'm facing. That is why I want to be heard. And Dr. Sheila says that it is a natural human instinct, the need to be heard. That's what she says. And Rupali says she would like to be heard to become more peaceful. That's what she says, that when she shares it with somebody, she will feel more peaceful. And yeah, I agree with Margi. She says to know that I'm not alone. So I know more responses are going to come in. I will bring them up. So, Shweta, Sandy, what's happening, we have this connecting helpline, we are an NGO, we still have not reached there. Why so much importance about first, about stress, and then about the need of being heard? Can you tell us what's happening here?
Um, so Shilpa, one thing, thank you to the audience, for responding. And all I can see is that when we are in stress, we all look for equilibrium and resource. The other thing, when you ask, why we are talking about stress and why we are talking about listening today. So stress has become an integral part of our lives these days. We are stressed, something or the other. Sometimes we are aware of that stress. Sometimes we are not aware of that stress. Today, what we are going to talk about is what is our response to these stress? How do we deal with it? And there is no right and wrong in this, Shilpa. To each his own. Like some of them said music, or some meditation works, exercising works, stepping back works, speaking with friends work. Everything is all right.
Mm.
And here Sandy and I are today here to present another resource which they may find helpful.
Absolutely, I'm
Sandy,
sure
do
of
you?
that.
Yeah.
Sorry,
No,
please
no.
go.
I just wanted to say if Sandy wants to add something to that.
Yeah, thanks, Shweta and Shilpa, and all the responses that have come in terms of, like Shweta was saying, you know, when we are touched by sometimes big emotions, and sometimes that can feel stressful, right? And then which is quite all right that we are looking at self-soothing, we are looking at making ourselves feel better. But what we do not address then is the turning towards an emotion and the turning towards what is it that is going on? What is it that my body mind is telling me? Right? So it is this emotion, and very often that is hard to do by oneself. And therefore, we need that space where we can just freely talk about what is going on. And in that process, we can touch into our emotions and through the other, as the other is holding space for us, the listening space for us. Yeah.
That that makes complete sense, and I can see how connected you both are. In fact, Shweta and Sandy, we got a response on the group that stress actually impacts how we see the situation and how we respond. So I think, Shweta and Sandy, now is a very good point for me to ask you about connecting. And I'm going to come back and look at this about listening, about sharing, and about how this is different. In fact, just a few minutes before starting this call, I got a query that Shilpa, I would love to join this call. Is this helpline like just another helpline? Is it, are they going to tell me be positive, don't worry? And I thanked for getting that question. I was like, you must get on the call to see what this is. So, Shweta, Sandy, what is Connecting NGO? And you said that this space is actually dedicated to listening. So, what's happening and what is the story and what does Connecting actually do?
So Shilpa, if you want to know more about connecting and the history, I would like to invite Sandy, and especially about the helpline, because she's been, with the helpline since its inception, and she's the one who designed and structured the helpline. So I think she's a better person to respond to that.
Yeah. So thank you, Shweta. And just a little bit about connecting, and like you're pointing out, Shilpa, the core at connecting, and it has evolved over the years, like people like Shweta, and many others joining in who hold a similar vision. And at the core of connecting is this. Uh, is this way of listening. So, when we say only listening, it's much more than that. And the power and the transformative power of listening is what we hold at the core of what we do. So Connecting actually it was formed in 2005 by Arnavaz Damania, who's the managing trustee and the founder of Connecting. And and it started in response to, a personal loss that she suffered. She's a survivor. Um, and someone close in her family had died by suicide, and that prompted her to start this initiative. And with that prompt and what she brought in, many others joined, and like me and several others. And one of the things that brought me into Connecting uh, is this whole bit of what do we do in this field of suicide prevention, and especially what would I want to do. And it was very clear to me, because I was volunteering uh, at uh, at a similar helpline earlier, um, that if there was something that needed to be brought in, it was to bring in listening, especially when we are talking about distress, stress, suicide. It's so important to bring in this core of human connection. And so in 2008, the helpline was initiated, and we started it with also adding this flavor of mindfulness, because with mindfulness there comes a depth in terms of how we are listening, and also who's the person who is listening. So, both people, like what Shweta alluded to, in terms of where both are held in that space, and that can come from that depth that comes from true listening, and mindfulness really supports that. So then the training started, and for the helpline, and the helpline has been on, and really taken forward by many people, and especially by Shweta, who's kind of like now spearheads the training, and has only enhanced it over the years. And apart from the helpline, like that was the seed. And then around it, various other programs started. So we have the peer support group, the peer support program that we run, which we run in schools. That is because, again, based on listening, where it is easier for young people to talk to other young people who will hold a listening space. So we train them. So that is the work that happens in school. And we also have our work in survivor support, where we support survivors of suicide. And we have the awareness programs, where we just have programs on just creating awareness about emotional health, and listening, and suicide prevention. Yeah. So that's it, just in a nutshell, in a very short kind of way, what we do at Connecting, and how we do it is through this listening process.
Sandy, thank you for sharing that. It's such an intense and deep journey. It's no wonder that we've come such a long way in this part of helping others. In fact, this is something more than just calling up somebody and sharing, You have pinpointed a very important aspect of being heard, of listening. So I want to ask this to both of you, that we have a lot of people in our lives. We have our close friends, we have a confidant, we have some family member we go to, or even some support groups. So right now, I don't know who the connecting helpline is, or I'm just an anonymous caller and I'm going to call an anonymous person. And yes, they are going to listen to me and I'm going to vent out. But how is this going to help me better than a friend or a loved one or a partner helping me?
Uh, so, Shilpa, there are multiple dimensions to that. First, I want to ask you, am I audible? Is this clear?
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So, there are multiple dimensions to that. So, if I have to turn to my friend, right? Um, a, a lot could come into play. My relationship with my friend, how I will feel speaking to my friend, how my friend will take all of that. So when we talk about listening, and as Sandy pointed out, and that has been my experience in this work as well, that there are two people in this. So when I am listening to someone, it is affecting me as well in some way. And that's where you would also feel that if at all I have to reach out to someone, I will be very mindful of the fact that, I am not burdening the other person
Yeah.
with my pain, with my stress. And there is this constant communication. So though I am a listener, the communication is both ways. So let's say when I'm speaking with you, I am also looking at you. I know where it's getting too much for you as well. And then I would stop because I don't want to burden you.
Mm.
Even for you, Shilpa, if you are listening to me with all good intent, your heart being at the right place, you really might want to rescue me.
Yeah.
And in that case, though it is helpful at times, I may not feel, I may not have that agency. I may not feel in control. So when you talk about, people reaching out to connecting, it's a very different space. I'll just give you a very, very small, I don't know if it is an example or an analogy. Let's talk about, since you're talking about listening, what happens when we don't get this space, and what changes when there is a space where we can really, really talk.
Mm.
Just to give you an analogy, a colleague of mine uses this, very, very frequently, and she explains this brilliantly. Let's say you have a thorn, on your foot, somewhere on your heel, on toe, some whatever. I am not even getting into the size of the thorn or the intensity of the prick. I
Mm.
am, let's say, and let's see this thorn as some kind of an emotional pain. So I'm just inviting the audience to think of any kind of stressful situation, any kind of emotional pain that they might be going through right now, or they might have experienced earlier. And let's see that. Let's try and understand this analogy from that point of view. So let's say that thorn is there, and I reach out to you, Shilpa.
Mm.
Shilpa, I've got this thorn, and
Mm.
you're a very good friend, right? In this equation, Shilpa, you are having your own journey as well, and we also have a lot of investment with each other. Your response could be anything. Your response could be, "Come on, Shweta, now don't worry about this thorn. It's not going to harm you. It's very small." Yeah. Uh, I love you as a friend. I may not really pay attention to what you said, but unknowingly, you have given me another thorn
Mm.
by not acknowledging it. Or you may say, Shweta, every time something happens, you come up with this. You're always whining, yeah. Come on, it's time to just move on. Another thorn, another prick. Or you may just say, Shweta, please, yeah, not today. All right. I mean, I have had a very, very bad day myself. My thorn is much bigger than yours, at least today. You have added another thorn. And we do it without really being mindful of this, with all good intent.
Yeah.
It doesn't really affect the friendship, but just imagine, there is this thorn, there is this prick, which is just adding, and I'm not even aware of this.
Mm.
But then I started doubting myself. If my thorn is really big enough, should I really pay attention to that? Is it really worthy of, the emotional difficulty, the pain that I'm feeling right now? So just imagine there was just a small thorn, one emotional pain that I wanted to express to you. And in return, I received many more without you wanting to add. When you are not paying attention to that thorn, probably it is hurting. Probably, you are very cautious of that foot. You start putting pressure on the other foot. And very slowly, you start feeling pain in that foot. And then, it starts increasing. Then you are taking care of that leg. It moves on to your shoulders or to your limb or to your arm or something else. And then you start wondering, like, what is wrong with my hand? Why is it paining so much? When you speak with someone, like for example, I'm very specific, I'm talking very specifically for connecting. When you speak here, this is a kind of listening space and it is safe. And when I say safe, I mean that no matter how scary, how frivolous, because we also feel like, I don't want to waste someone's time.
Mm.
I know this thorn is not important. Why do I waste someone's time? For us, nothing is trivial. As long as it is causing any kind of emotional pain, it is important. So people reach out to us talking about pain in the arm, pain in the hand. And this whole conversation, Shilpa, is, I would say, it's an unfolding process. It's like you are unpeeling, the onion. And peel after peel after peel, you will realize that it is all stemming from there. So that one feeling that you experience, that one thorn that you got pricked with, just imagine there is a lot of stress that's going on internally. Your body is producing stressful hormones. So it is affecting you neurologically. Just look at all these societal conditions that we all are raised with. That, it's not big enough. You shouldn't be crying for this now. You are a whining person. You always overreact. And these things we kind of normalize in our lives. But at the same time, it also affects us big time. So in a conversation like this, where there is a safe space, where there is a person who is genuinely interested, in wanting to know that, Shweta, tell me more about this. And that's how probably in one conversation, in multiple conversations, this thing may show up for me that, there was a thorn and it was hurting and I was not aware of that. That's the kind of listening that we are talking about. I don't know if it makes much sense here, but I thought probably this one analogy where you can see it, biologically, sociologically, psychologically, because then your behavior also changes. And what changes when there is a safe space?
Shweta, I'm going to use a word that you use, unfolding. You actually unfolded the story of our dealing with a problem with the help of a thorn. It has made such wonderful sense to me. I invite the audience to let us know how they feel about this, if they have any questions. In fact, I want to ask everybody that, Shweta said that we have a safe space to listen. But let's say I have a best friend, I have a confidant, and they treat me the way I want to be treated when I go to them with a problem. Okay, it's a perfect situation. I really don't need a helpline. Okay, but even in that situation, Shweta, by what you said, please tell me if I have understood this correctly. Even if I have people to help me, calling you, calling the helpline is actually going to make me think about my situation. You are actually, by listening to me and by making me talk, I'm going to have more clarity about my situation. I'll probably understand myself better. And then, is it correct to think that I will also become a more independent person?
So Shilpa, I'm looking at two questions here. One,
Mm,
if you have a friend, so I also have friends here. What I have seen, what I have experienced, and of course, your experience could be different. The audience here, they could have a very different experience. But as a friend, I may not feel very comfortable asking certain questions. As a
mm,
friend, I may not be able to keep that objectivity that is actually required in this conversation. As a friend, I would be very mindful that I don't want to hurt Shilpa by asking this. So
Mm-hmm.
I'll just take a step back, which, of course, as I said, we are not questioning the intent in any way. My intent is to not hurt Shilpa. But is it helping Shilpa the way, a very objective, a very fearless, and at the same time, a very gentle, a very intuitive conversation may feel like? So we receive calls from people who tell us that their psychiatrists have given them our number. They say that we may not be, as psychiatrists, we may not be available all the time, and as psychiatrists we have this limited number of hours that we can offer you. So if at all you feel like talking, here is the number. So we have people who receive numbers from psychiatrists. We also receive calls where a mother calling us and asking us to speak with the child, and she passes the phone over
Mm-hmm.
to the child. So there she is. I mean, the intent is there. They want to support the child. But at the same time, as a caregiver, and when I say a caregiver, we play different roles. So if for me, I am also a caregiver, and I am not using this word caregiver as, someone who's sick and I am caring for that person.
Mm-hmm.
As a caregiver, just in a role, probably as a wife, I am a caregiver. As a mother, I am a caregiver. As a daughter, I am a caregiver. In all those
Yeah.
relationships, it's not easy. It's not easy to support all the time. And it takes a toll on us as well. So when I gave you the example that mother, spoke with us and asked us to speak with the child, we support both of them. Because if the child is going through any kind of difficulty, the mother by default will go through a difficulty. And these things kind of, get ignored. We
Yeah.
don't pay much attention to this. Yeah. And the second thing was like, just about the objectivity, Shilpa, just the objectivity of this. And when you say that, will I feel more independent? I would say that as a person, you are experiencing what you are experiencing anyway, whether someone
Mm-hmm.
asks you or doesn't ask you, it doesn't take
Yeah.
anything away from you. If someone asks you, there is an opportunity for you to respond to that. There is an opportunity for you to really look at things more clearly. Then of course you're able to sift through your own difficulties, you're able to sift through your own emotions, you're also able to see it in your body. I mean, most of the time we feel, we always keep our shoulders tight. Yeah, our thighs are always contracted most of the time, and for many of us our body is constantly receiving these. So in a conversation like this, you will be able to see a lot for
Mm.
yourself with at least some clarity. So we can't
Absolutely.
change your experience, we can't
Mm-hmm.
add to what you're already experiencing, but there is an opportunity to express yourself fearlessly, because you are also scared. It might be overwhelming for you as well, to share so much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah,
Indeed.
this is the kind of space that connecting offers.
Absolutely. It's like we can mold any way we want. It's just about sharing and exploring and experiencing what actually unfolds. So, Shweta, Sandy, so when should somebody call you, and why should somebody call you? So, can you tell us now? I don't know if it's all right, but with the help of some examples, if possible, to share that what kind of situations can people call you with, and what can be discussed, and you know, why should one call you?
So when you say when someone should call us, of course we have a time limit. So in terms of time, anyone can call us between 10 and 8. In terms of what situation,
Yes,
they
what
can,
situation?
yes, they can call us about anything that's bothering
Mm-hmm.
them. There is no, there is no hierarchy, right? Anything that's causing pain is worth talking about. At any point in time you feel that something is bothering you, at any point in time you feel that there is something there and you would want to talk about it, call. And the examples are like, Shilpa, there are so many things. I mean, even just for me, I recall one conversation where there was an elderly lady who started this conversation with, I've lost my Tata Sky remote control. And I was a little taken aback uh, as to, what does she want? And when we spoke about that, when I started, really, so the whole idea was that I had to really ground myself and I had to come
Mm-hmm.
in with this intent of, let me see what is there, and if there is something. And as we spoke, it was all about feeling so lonely. There was no one to speak to her. There was no one to check in on her. Everyone was busy in their lives. And she had nothing but TV to keep her entertained or to have some kind of a company. And we spoke at great length talking about all of this, how her life was earlier, what she's experiencing now, how difficult things are, how lonely she feels. Just imagine, initiating a call with, my Tata Sky remote is missing. So what we see in our work is, I don't know if you would like to present that. Even if you don't present, that's okay. What we have seen, what we have experienced in our work is that the start of the conversation is just the tip of the iceberg.
Mm-hmm.
And even as someone who has reached out, so yeah, this is how usually a conversation starts. It always starts with some tip of the iceberg. I'm going through this. This is what I am experiencing. And as the conversation flows, as the person also looks at himself or herself, looks at the experiences, really feels safe enough, more than, yeah, there is safety, and that safety gives them the courage. And as they feel courageous enough to go a little deeper, we see a very different iceberg. And this is the iceberg. The tip was so small.
Mm.
And this iceberg is something that they are anyway experiencing. This is their iceberg. It's not my iceberg. But even on the surface, you are, we say that life happens. And in this day-to-day rut, you are carrying this weight. Just imagine the weight of this iceberg. And then you also wonder, like, I can see only this much. I can feel only this much. Why am I feeling so heavy?
Mm.
Because you have also lost contact, perhaps, with what lies underneath. And then there is such a relief when you have someone who can acknowledge things for you. When you can see, when you feel validated that, yeah, when I was feeling this heavy, I was not being whiny. I was not being weak. I was not being lazy. There is all of this that's going on with me.
Yeah, really. Like, who would have thought that there is so much going on behind not finding a TV remote? It's
Yeah,
only after listening to such a person and that person actually sharing
yeah,
it will be revealed. This is really fantastic. This is really
yeah.
powerful, Shweta. In fact, we got a couple of comments on the group, and I
Okay.
actually want to lead this to a question. So, Margie has said that I work in the mental health field, and this is a wonderful idea you have. I often suggest to my clients to reach out to these kind of issues. So she was at that time mentioning about any kind of issue that you may be facing. And Vinny
Yeah.
said, when you gave the mother and child example, the mother gave the phone to the child to speak. So Vinny says that you're actually very right. Mother and child are connected through stem cells.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's why probably that need of helping the child. So Shweta, tell me something. I to continue what Vinny has said, and my first question of who can call you. We
Yeah.
sometimes know people who probably would not like to speak with us, and probably even
Yeah.
we are not ready to listen to them. So,
Yeah.
can we do something for such people like elderly or children? Can we ask them to call connecting helpline, or what can we do in such a situation for them?
Shilpa, as I said, anyone. and
mm,
everyone can call us with anything and everything that
mm,
is not
mm,
feeling okay.
mm, mm,
It's just this not okayness, and they can call us.
mm, mm,
So you are talking about children, you're talking about elderlies, and yes, we have calls from all age groups. We get calls from varied backgrounds. We get calls from, where people just wonder like why they are doing this, why they are behaving this way. And so I don't know if I should share this example, but we received a call from one gentleman who was working in a high profile IT company,
mhm,
working in the sales department, and he just called. He was like, I really don't know. I'm just messing things up. I am presenting my data is incorrect. I had one presentation today and it did not go well because I misrepresented some calculation. There was some miscalculation or something. And he was like, I feel there is something wrong with me. I probably need a mental. So his call was to ask for a counselor or a
mhm,
professional who can
mhm,
assess him because he seemed pretty sure that something was not okay with him on a
mhm.
mental level. Shilpa, 1.5 hours into the conversation, and he started talking about how he lost his grandmother during COVID.
Mhm.
And since COVID time was so bad and everything was, in this crisis mode, he had no time to grieve. He could not even process the loss of his grandmother.
Mhm.
And then after like 1.5 hours or 2 hours into the conversation, he was like, I never knew that I was missing her so much. She used to stay with me and I can see her, everywhere, every corner of my house. And I really, really miss her. But there was no time to think about her, to think about this loss. And he was so distracted because there is a conflict. I mean, when you don't have time, like Sandy said, no, there is everything. Your body is receiving everything.
Yeah.
There are emotions, but there is no time, there is no bandwidth. For whatever reason, we are not able to really address that. Then it manifests in a different way. And then you wonder, like, what is going on with me? Is there something wrong? Yeah. So anything and everything and any age group, they can call us.
Shweta, your stories are so interesting, and I'm going to prod you a little more to share some more of your stories. But before that, Shweta and Sandy, can you tell us that is there a charge to make these calls, and how many times can a person call? And I know you have mentioned the time 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. India time, but is there a price to this? Is there a time limit or any restrictions to this?
Um, no, Shilpa, there is no time limit, and this service is absolutely free of cost.
Mm-hmm.
Since we are talking about, people reaching out, we also have people who are not willing to speak because they
Mm-hmm.
find it very overwhelming. So they write to us.
Mm-hmm.
And we have team who supports people on email. So yeah, I mean, one can reach out to us through emails as well. So no, there is no cost. I mean, any service connecting is free of cost.
Mm-hmm.
And there is no time limit, and not even in terms of how many times you can reach out to us. You can reach out to us as long as you don't feel done.
This is like a stress genie. Like whenever
Mm-hmm.
you get stressed, you just call this helpline, and there's absolutely no conditions applied. This is
Yeah.
fantastic. Well, thank you so much for sharing this with us. In fact, we did already get a query on the group that what is the number. Everybody just hang on for a few minutes. There are multiple ways you can do this together with connecting, and there are multiple ways where you can help yourself. So before we get there, Shweta, I want to ask you that you reached from a TV remote till an IT professional calling
Mhm.
you for help. So if you can share with us, probably with the help of your stories, that uh, you know I'm asking this question so that our audience get an idea. You mentioned this very convincingly multiple times that you come to us with anything and everything. Shweta, can
Yeah.
you tell us that, you know, what are the kind of challenges that people usually face, and, till what extent can people go and they can call you?
Mm. So the kind of calls that we receive, Shilpa, most of them are around relationship difficulties. And when I say relationship, I don't necessarily mean, a spousal or a
Mm-hmm.
boyfriend girlfriend relationship. It could be any relationship. So most of our calls are, relationship difficulties. Uh, COVID changed the scene a little bit because some calls are also, talking about financial difficulties, career-wise difficulties, honestly, sexual difficulties.
Mm-hmm.
So again, that's a very taboo subject. So these are primarily, the difficulties that people talk about. And of course, if you have any kind of, if you're suffering from any kind of mental condition, the service remains the same. So people who are going through any kind of mental condition, they also reach out to us. And as far as this, um, to what an extent they can go to an extent where they tell us that they feel like ending their life the same day that they've called us. So, they do tell us that they are feeling suicidal. They do tell us that they have made plans. Some of them have also read out their suicide note to us, and they do share with us that they plan to end their lives.
You know, Shweta, as you're sharing this, it's making me realize that even you at your end have to be so strong and clear to deal to manage this. In fact, everybody, there is a lot you can do with connecting in every aspect. We will share that shortly. So, Shweta, coming back to harming oneself till the extent of passing away, why will somebody who's feeling suicidal call call you? Aren't they worried that you will report them or you will do something about it? So why do they really call?
I'll start from the beginning, Shilpa, here. I don't know if there is time. So this is one very interesting phenomena that we come across, during our trainings. So in our
Mm-hmm.
trainings, when we introduce suicide, and when the new participants share with us what they feel about suicide and their experiences with suicide, some of them are survivors, some of them are witness survivors, as in some of them attempted and survived, some of them have witnessed suicide. And the question remains that, why did they not reach out to
Mm-hmm.
anyone? So this is one aspect, right?
Mm-hmm.
The
Yeah.
moment we get into that, we will check for their suicidal feelings. They're like, why do we need to do that? So just see, as society, how we operate. We want people to reach out, but we do not want to initiate a conversation. We want people to reach out, but we do not encourage these conversations. It is scary for the other person who's actually going through it. But the
Yeah.
difference is
Yeah.
that whether I ask or I don't ask, the person is feeling suicidal, and me not asking doesn't really change anything. When we talk about suicide on our helpline, they feel so relieved that for the first time, at least, I can talk about it, because the moment I open my mouth, and not even talking about suicide directly,
Mm-hmm.
in any way, talking about death and even talking about suicide, they are snubbed. They are told not to pay attention to these thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
They are told not to think of
Yeah.
suicide.
Yeah.
They are told that things will change. What we fail to understand, Shilpa, is so much pain they are experiencing right now. And they are so desperately looking for a space where they can at least share. So when they call us, some of the callers do feel very surprised that they could talk about suicide
Mm-hmm.
and so freely and so fearlessly. And surprisingly, when they say I really don't remember. Perhaps in my 10 years of being at Connecting, we may have lost maybe one or two people. Yeah. So every time they say that they intend to do something, that's how, probably at some point in conversation, as they feel held in the conversation, as they feel understood. This is one thing, Shilpa, that I feel we all long for. As human beings, as a species, we are meant for connection. Just this sense of understanding, just this sense that there is someone who's finally understood is enough for them.
Really.
And they call us the second day or the third day or the fourth day. So I don't know, it has also given us uh, a lot of strength, Shilpa, and a lot of conviction that there is a lot of power in listening. I don't know if Sandy would want to add anything to that.
Yeah, maybe also how we understand and look at either emotional distress, or we look at, to the point of feeling suicidal, and how we're looking at suicide. And if we really look at it, I know it brings up strong things. Oh my God, what is this person going through? But actually, like Shweta was pointing out, it is just unbearable pain that I do not know what to do with. And I do not know, I cannot find what is the way out of the pain. So, very often when we are talking about suicide, we are talking about that it's not so much that people want to end their lives, they want to end the pain. And then, as a way of coping,
Mm.
then they are looking at, these thoughts start coming and they become more and more forceful. So, what's happening when somebody in this very caring way, without judgment, without saying, oh my God, this is what you're thinking, you need to be rescued, something needs to be done immediately, without all of that, to just simply hear the person that, yes, there is a lot of distress, that not just saying this, but to feel it, that to feel that there is so much of pain, there is so much of distress. No wonder, right, that you are thinking these thoughts, or there is all of that. And as someone, any one of us, just by virtue of being human, when we receive this very unconditional acceptance of, this is how I'm feeling, this is what I'm thinking, and it's okay. When they receive this, when we all receive this from another, if we are fortunate to receive this from another, right, something opens up. That inner fight, that inner struggle starts to shift. And this is that underlying process that is happening in the listening, but it is a certain quality of listening. Okay. So when people talk about listening, or what do you all do? We are listening. It's not just listening, we are listening to the feelings, we're listening to what's really going on for you, and feeling with the person, right? Because unless you feel with the person, you cannot enter into the other person's space. Someone says that, it's in this whole listening process, or with being with another person, that the other person feels seen. Yeah. And it's a felt experience. So it's not the words, it's not just skills and techniques, but it is how we are with that person in that moment as they are sharing, whether it is trivial, whether it is deep, whether it is whatever There is just an acceptance of this is how it is for you, and it's okay. I'm here. And there is that's something then that, that when we receive it, it touches us. And that's when something opens up. Like that suicidal thought, which was so felt like, this is the only way, that starts to open up and more possibilities start to arise. Even if we are facing high emotional distress, it's not like we don't have the answers. We do, right? But it can get so clouded by all the emotions that we are facing that we can't see. And then when someone just hears us that this is what you're going through, right? Gets it, really gets it. Yeah. Then automatically it opens up into possibilities, maybe solutions, or even if it doesn't, it just feels okay. The distress has not gone, but we feel okay. We feel like, okay, now I can move. I can see, okay, the next step, or I can have a way to be with what I'm feeling. Yeah.
Sandy and Shweta, were you going to say something, please?
No, I just wanted to add to what
Please,
Sandy was
please,
saying,
please.
that um, that something really opens up, and someone just being there, with that
Yeah.
person. And like you also asked, why to call connecting? And
Mm-hmm.
perhaps some people may wonder that this is a non-advisory service, right? Why do I even call this?
Mm-hmm.
All these years, Shilpa, we have understood that as human beings, as this species, lack of knowledge is not a problem, right? So we are basically feeling beings, which perhaps has been taken over by a lot of things. So if you ask me, I mean, I'm just going to give you a very random example. I need to exercise. You don't have to give me any yarn on why I need to exercise. I have all that myself.
Mm-hmm.
I know how it will benefit me. I know what food I should eat. I know what exercises should I do. I'm still unable to because I don't feel like doing it. Something in me is just not ready to do this. So when we say advisory, non-advisory, I mean, there is of course merit in advice too. The service is non-advisory because there is a faith, there is a belief, and this is what we have experienced all these years, that the resources are there already. It's almost like someone is walking, the person knows the path, but it is so foggy and so clouded that the person is too frozen to take like one step. And as volunteers, we are just there with them, holding their hands, telling them that it's okay.
You both make this sound so poetic and this is so beautiful. You know, it's like my shoulder is paining because I'm carrying a heavy bag. All I need to do is put that bag aside. But this, what you're doing here is, I just need to speak. I just need to share. Probably I don't even know what all it can do to me. So thank you for this. And I agree with Priya and a lot of us that kudos to you for providing this service unconditionally and free of charge. Shweta and Sandy, I think this is a very good time to share with everybody how they can connect with us in times of distress. Because after that, I also want to ask you, and I can't wait to share with everybody that how we can become volunteers and do what you are doing. Of course, join you in helping others. So I'm going to share my screen and there will be a quick recap about connecting and then you can tell us the details of how we
Sure.
can connect and then we
Yeah,
can speak about the training.
sure. So Shilpa, I would like you to just stop here for a bit so that everyone gets to see what connecting is. So this is a safe, non-judgmental, and non-advisory listening space. And yeah, we've already mentioned that this is free of cost, and for anybody and everybody, for anything and everything that's not feeling okay. And to also be mindful of what connecting is not. So, since it is not advisory in nature, we do not offer any solution or guidance, uh, any kind of aid or services. We do not initiate a call. So if you're calling on the helpline is an inbound call, we can't initiate a call unless the beneficiary as in the person who's reaching out to us is a survivor of suicide. I would like to talk a bit about what we mean, at least what in
Mm-hmm.
connecting, what we mean by survivor of suicide. So survivor of suicide could be anyone who's attempted and survived. Survivor of suicide could also be the person who has lost someone to suicide. And survivor of suicide could also be the person who has witnessed suicide. So if you have had a direct experience with suicide, we do have a service where we reach out to you. And obviously, we'll share the number with you. You just have to give a missed call or send us a WhatsApp. Even a blank WhatsApp or SMS would do. And we do not mediate a conversation. So like I am going through this, so you tell that person. That's not a kind of service that connecting offers. So I think when you reach out, just to be mindful of these.
All right. And everybody now, you'll be able to see on the screen the numbers you can call. Shweta, you want to tell us? And I want to tell everybody that don't worry, we are going to share everything on the group and in email, and we are there to answer any of your questions and reach connecting helpline. So we'll quickly take you through how all you can reach, and then we will talk about how we can connect and donate. Shweta?
Yeah, so these are our helpline numbers, and you can call from anywhere. You can add 91. I really don't know how that works. All I know is we have people calling us from UK. At least that's something that I'm aware of. So I believe that there is a facility that people outside India can also call us.
Yes.
This service is available from 10 to 8 India time. And in terms of language, it is available in English, Hindi, and since the organization is based in Maharashtra, we offer Marathi. And we were talking about survivor of suicide. So if you are a survivor of suicide, of course, you can reach out to us on the helpline numbers if you feel like talking. But if you feel someone from us to make the call and to reach out to you, this is the number. You can give us a blank call, missed call. You can send us, one SMS or a WhatsApp message, and someone from our side will reach out to you. If you don't feel comfortable talking, then this is the email ID, distressmailsconnecting@gmail.com. You can write to us, and we'll be very honored to support you. And yeah, you will receive a response within 48 hours.
It's fantastic, Shweta. This really thank you for sharing. And I want to quickly ask you, a lot of us would have been deeply impacted by listening to Sandy and Shweta, both of you, and we want to do this with you. So, can you tell us? I'm quickly going to share like two straightforward questions to you, that who all can volunteer with you? What all does volunteering entail? And what are the benefits of volunteering? Like, I can already see what the benefits are, but I would like you to please spell it out for us, please.
So who all? One is we have the age criteria, Shilpa, 21 and above, because this
Mhm.
it may not really be for people below 21 for multiple reasons, and we also don't want them to go through this kind of an experience. They may not have the experience, to understand this work. So 21 and above. And so couple of our services, they can be supported from anywhere in India, but for training, you will have to be in Pune. So we have 5 weekends of
Mhm.
training. So for those 5 weekends, those trainings are in person, and for that training, you will have to be in Pune. And once the training is over, and your onboarding and everything is complete, even like once the training is over, you can go back and you can support this cause, from wherever you are. So this is about who all. The upper age limit is 65, but that's kind of flexible. We can see this. The general understanding of this work is that, probably they would need only people from only psychology background. I am not from psychology background. Many volunteers are not from psychology background. So no, we do not need people only from psychology background. Even if you're not from this psychology background, you're more than welcome.
It's hard to believe, Shweta, that you're not from a psychology background after this call.
No, no, I'm not from psychology background, Shilpa.
Yeah, I just
And
like to add to that it's we always think that this is like some kind of speciality,
Mm,
right, that we
yeah,
need. And yes, there is the training that is needed. But what we're really working with is this very basic human connection that is possible for each person. And therefore, we take volunteers from all walks of life, that it is possible to we all have this human capacity to offer this kind of space, just by virtue of being human. So we know how to connect in this way, but we need to consciously kind of, know that and
yeah,
then fine tune
yeah,
that
right.
ability. Yeah. Thank you.
yeah, so you just have to be human. That's it. Nothing else. Nothing else is required. Um, yes, Shilpa, you were saying
No,
something.
no, Shweta, please. I don't want to miss anything that you both want to say. Please say. You were saying something.
What all this training is all about, I mean, and the benefits of this training, Shilpa, it's the word, and I'm sure many of us here, and probably had I been in your place, probably I would have felt the same, that these guys are just exaggerating. But Shilpa, this process is magic, and every now and then, every probably other call, or just this human contact, we keep wondering like how powerful this is, and we keep bowing down to this process of listening. It's not in us. We are not the people. We are not magic. So you can have 10 Shwetas because the process is so powerful. You can have 10 Sandys because the process is so powerful. So what all, yes, I mean, in terms of logistics, the training would be of 5 weekends. And I think we can also share the number, Shilpa, just in case you want to reach out.
Hmm. You can see my screen, right? It's there.
Um, no, it's not refreshed, at least for me. I don't know if
Okay,
it is for
no,
others.
no problem.
Yes,
There,
yes,
sorry.
yes, yes, yes. So one is, of course, I'm not getting into the logistics part of it. You can
Mm-hmm.
always reach out on this number to get more details, and you can always write to us to get more details. The benefits, Shilpa, is, I don't know. I mean, I've been here for 10 years, and I'm not saying that I don't know. I know for sure that I have gained much more than I've offered. There is so much more that I've learned. There is so much more that I have received from connecting than I have ever offered. So there is a very beautiful, I mean, I don't know, one participant shared a very beautiful quote, and it kind of, summed up
Mm-hmm.
this training process. So we were done with the training, and we were just exchanging, how it felt and all of that. And she said, Shweta, I feel this training has changed me a lot without changing a single thing in me. And it felt so wonderful to hear that. It almost felt like, yeah, she summed it up so beautifully, that yeah, the training doesn't attempt to change anything in you. and yet it changes so much. The whole idea is that we believe, of course, there is a lot of process that goes behind that, but there is also a belief, Shilpa, that there is an inherent quality in all of us. This humanness is there in all of us. It's just this conditioning, probably the life experiences, and it is all clouded and covered and all of that. This training doesn't teach you anything or doesn't teach you much. I will not say that it doesn't teach you
Mm-hmm.
anything. The training doesn't teach you much, but the training just allows you to kind of be aware of those unconditionings and to drop them. So be aware of all the experience that have kind of hindered, or that would come in a way, in this listening space, and just to drop them. So even as a participant, the journey is overwhelming. And when I say overwhelming, there is an overwhelming sense of struggle, because I all these conditionings, they are here to protect us, and I have felt protected by these conditions, all my life, whatever age, 25,
Mm-hmm.
30, 35. And now suddenly someone is asking me to drop, then it's almost like, no, you're questioning my identity. You want me to lose my identity, and I don't feel safe. And yet they do it. And the change is very evident. The overwhelmness in terms of, it feels painful. At the same time, it is extremely joyful and liberating. So there is a ritual that on day one of the training, we invite these participants to share what brings them here, their intent of being here. And one participant wrote that, as a volunteer, if I am able to change even like one life, I am done. I have done my job well. And 5 weeks later, we invite them to come back to those intentions and see if anything has changed. And then he said, this was just last training, and he said that, no, my intent is still the same. I feel, even if, as a volunteer, even if I'm able to change that one life, I am sorted. Only now I have realized that that one man is me.
My God.
So that was, his experience. And as a volunteer, it's like all these awareness, and we also have a lot of support from each other.
Mm-hmm.
All these awareness, all these understandings, this mindfulness, it's been extremely beneficial. And this is something that we see. Of course, the expectation is to be in this role only for those many hours, when you're volunteering. But there is no way that you don't bring it back to your life, in your relationships, in your own community. It's bound to happen no matter
Yeah.
what.
Yeah.
And many of the volunteers here, we have seen a lot of changes in our personal relationship as well, because when there is awareness, and when you are able to share what you're really going through with that mindfulness and awareness, there is lesser space for speculation. So just to give you an example, if I am going through a bad mood today and
Mm-hmm.
I'm not speaking with my husband,
Mm.
my husband is like wondering that he must have done something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the
Yeah.
whole flavor changes. He's struggling with his own thoughts, what really happened to her. And he's going back to probably, early in the day or day before or something, if something happened, if he did something. So then we are both struggling. And I know that this has got nothing to do with him. Now with this mindfulness, with this awareness, I'm able to tell him clearly that, see, this is what I'm dealing with today, and I really
Mm-hmm.
need some time off. And he's settled. He knows that it's not about him. So he's
Mm.
not struggling. And there is a lot of clarity in the relationship. So of course the expectation is to just keep it, for those many hours, but there is no way you will not take this back to,
And why
your life.
wouldn't you? This sounds life-changing, Shweta. In fact, we have a couple of questions on the group, and the way I have understood this training is like you're helping yourself first before trying to be there for
Yes.
others. You're being there, you're wearing your own oxygen mask first. Thank you for offering this. Sure, this sounds brilliant. And There is there are two things Shweta and Sandy are going to do for us, everybody. One of you actually can get on a call today with Shweta. We will invite you to change your name on Zoom and raise your hand, and you will be able to have a completely anonymous, safe conversation with Shweta, the way it actually happens on their helpline. That is number one. Number two, she spoke about the training. Tomorrow, again, we are going to meet at 6:30 p.m. India time and 9 a.m. Eastern time. And Shweta is actually going to show us how we can become better listeners, not just with the family members, our colleagues, or anybody we are dealing with, but also better listeners to ourselves. So don't miss that. It is going to be life changing. So, Shweta, I want to raise a couple of questions that have come on the group. Priya has
Sure.
asked that are these, she's asking about the helpline. So, is this only telephonic or mail, or is there any personal meeting, or can we meet
So
somewhere, something
this
like that?
this office is in Pune, Shilpa.
Mhm.
So if at all she wants to meet, we have opened, one-on-one, face-to-face meeting, but that's on appointment basis.
Hmm.
So we've shared the numbers with them, so they
Ah,
can reach out to us on the helpline or the other number that we shared,
hmm,
survivor of suicide. So
hmm.
they can write an SMS that they would want to walk in, and we will fix a day and time when they can walk in and they can meet the volunteer face to face.
Got it. And Shweta, Vinny has asked about volunteering. Are the volunteers paid after the training for working with the organization?
No, no, they are not paid. This is a voluntary work, Shilpa.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
they are not paid.
absolutely. So, Shweta Sandy, I know a lot of people are going to watch this on replay, and I want to invite those on the replay and those who are present now. Think about this conversation. Think about this work, about calling this helpline, about listening. Leave questions to us on the Telegram group and come back tomorrow. It is going to be the beginning of a lot of changes in your life. And of course, the third way we can connect with connecting is in ways of donation. And there are multiple ways you can donate. Shweta, you want to tell us about it and let me know when I can share the details on the screen.
So this is one NGO, Shilpa. So of course,
Yeah,
there are multiple. I'm not saying that, if you want to reach out, of course, reach out. If you want to contribute, then do join us as volunteers. If you are in Pune, or if you can make time, to come to Pune to attend those 5 weeks of training, or if you feel like you can donate, we can share the QR code and other bank details. And yeah, this being an NGO, there is a tax exemption as well. So
right.
this is the QR code, and these are the bank details and the UPI ID.
Yeah,
So either of these is okay.
absolutely. And don't worry, you can pause the stream in the replay and check it out. And we are, anyways, going to share this with all of you. Shweta, Sandy, this was fantastic. Please tell us, is there anything you want all of us to know? Did I miss out on asking anything? And I also want to ask audience that is there anything you would like to know about this unique? We try so many things to heal, to be heard, but this is as simple as speaking and listening. I mean, can it get simpler than this? And yet this is so profound, you know. Please ask us your questions. We would love to take them on today or tomorrow. And Sandy, Shweta, please let us know what we need to know right now. The one thing you want us to know, both of you.
I think,
I think,
yeah, go ahead,
yeah, yeah.
Shweta.
Go on, Sandy.
I think one thing that you have highlighted, Shilpa, is this that it is simple, it is profound, it is available, as a capacity that we have to offer this kind of, you know, just an open hearted listening to another person. And maybe tomorrow there will be more of an experience of it. But it really is at, like Shweta was saying, that all we need to do is bring this awareness in ourselves and just be aware of any any responses that come from a should, come from a must, and just to hold that and pay attention, bring our full attention to the other person. I know, Shilpa, you also highlighted that, listening to ours and this whole description of it seemingly poetic, because the only way to understand this listening is through the heart, because the listening is happening through the heart. It's not a set of, I ask this, then I ask that, and then there is that. It's that heart to heart connection. And so while it may sound like this, there is a whole lot of research and neuroscience that backs this up, of what is it that happens in the brain when we are received this way.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it so important as a human being to have this connection, which is so basic and which is really maybe needs to be the birthright of any human being? And therefore it points out to the number of ways that as a society we have uh, we have not managed to bring this kind of just simple connection, heart to heart connection, which is really what this is all about, and which is really at the heart of suicide prevention, where people don't feel so alone and they don't feel like they cannot go to anyone. To know that a colleague, a friend, a family member, just to feel safe, to be able to share whatever is happening very deeply, and simply to have that moment of connection, to be seen, to be heard. It's as basic as that. And I think the work that we're doing at Connecting is trying to put that in the foreground, you know. So it may not seem like, oh, it's this major thing that we are doing, but it is a major thing which is required currently in society. And that is what all the distress around us is showing us, that we need to come back to ourselves and to each other in this way. Yeah. So I just want to highlight also the urgency for all of us to stop and pause and see how we can just listen. Yeah, Shweta.
I think you have just summed it up, Sandy. So, Shilpa, I really don't have much to say. All I can say is, to invite the group to experience this in whatever capacity they can. If they feel like reaching out, if they feel like volunteering, in whatever capacity, just to experience this once.
Absolutely. And on that note, Sandy, you beautifully summed up the entire call and philosophy. And Shweta, you've left us with some simple, direct call to action. And I want to remind everybody we will meet again tomorrow at 6 p.m. India time, 9 a.m. Eastern time. Thank you, both of you, so much. I want to take this opportunity on behalf of the team and on behalf of the audience, live and on the replay. I've had this honor of speaking with you and personally congratulating and thanking you for doing this work, as Priya said, unconditionally and free of charge. So thank you so much for that. And we will meet again tomorrow. Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you, Sandy and Shweta.
And thank you, Shilpa, and to Mystic Lotus and Dragonflies for really bringing this to the foreground and to see the importance of it. So, very, very grateful. Thank you so much for having us.
It was a
Thank
pleasure. And I will take a few seconds to sum up the three ways in which we can connect with connecting. It is by ways of speaking with them when you're distressed. The, you can call, you can SMS if you're a survivor of suicide or anybody you know is, and you can email them, and you can walk into their office in Pune at an appointed time. You can, of course, become a volunteer. You can get in touch with them via call or email. And of course, you can donate. The donations will be exempted from tax. And currently, only Indians will be able to donate. And you can choose UPI or bank account or QR code, many multiple ways of donating. So thank you everyone for joining. Thank you for your time. Thanks, Sandy and Shweta. See you tomorrow. Thanks. Bye.